You are walking across an ancient plain. The wind is cold, the ground is frozen. Small stones press into your feet. A thorn catches your heel. You stop. There are no boots, no sandals, no socks, no thick soles between your body and the earth. Every step is bare skin against a hard world. To find food, you must walk. To hunt, you must walk. To reach water, you must walk. To escape danger, you must run. But your feet can bleed. They can freeze. They can burn. And one deep cut can turn a short journey into a fight to survive. So how did ancient humans invent shoes? For most of human history, people did not own footwear. They moved through the world barefoot, across grasslands, along riverbanks, through forests, over hot sand, and across rock. The human foot was already an extraordinary tool. It could bend, grip, balance, absorb impact, and feel the ground beneath it. Bare feet were not weak. They were trained by daily life. A person who walked barefoot from childhood knew the landscape through their soles. They could feel a slippery stone before falling. They could sense soft mud. They could grip a branch. They could move carefully over uneven ground. For a long time, bare feet were enough. In warm regions, they could carry people over great distances. But the earth was not always kind. A sharp flake of stone could cut deep. A thorn could become infected. Snow could numb the toes. Cold mud could steal body heat. A rocky slope could slow a hunter when speed mattered most. And as humans moved into colder places, harsh ground became more than an inconvenience. It became a problem. But then something changed. Not everywhere. Not all at once. But in some places, people began looking down. They saw what the ground was doing to their feet. They saw the cuts, the bruises, the cold, and they began searching for a barrier. Something soft, something strong, something that could travel with them. First, humans may have wrapped animal hide around the foot. Then they may have tied it in place with strips of sinew, plant fiber, or leather, and then they began shaping that covering to fit the body. The first shoe may have been little more than a hide wrap, a piece of fur, a bundle of grass, a layer of bark under the sole. We cannot know for certain. The earliest shoes were made from things that disappear. Leather rots. Grass breaks down. Bark turns to dust. Even the best-made footwear can vanish when buried in wet soil for thousands of years. That is why archaeology has a problem. Stone tools survive. Bones survive. But the first shoes probably did not. Still, ancient bodies may carry a clue. Researchers studying the feet of Ice Age humans noticed a change over time. Earlier people often had stronger, smaller toes. Later people, living tens of thousands of years ago, sometimes had smaller toes that appeared less heavily stressed. One leading theory is that supportive footwear reduced how much those toes had to grip the ground. It is not proof of a single first shoe, but it suggests something important. Humans may have started wearing footwear far earlier than the oldest surviving examples. Imagine that first discovery. A hunter steps onto frozen ground. His foot burns with cold. He takes a piece of animal skin, wraps it around his sole, ties it above the ankle, then stands. The earth is still cold, but it does not bite as deeply. He takes another step, then another. The ground hurts less. That small improvement could change everything. A person could walk farther, stay outside longer, travel across rougher land, protect an injured foot, carry supplies without stopping every few minutes. A shoe was not fashion. Not at first, it was survival. The problem was simple. The world beneath the foot was dangerous. The first attempt was a loose covering, but loose coverings slip. They fill with dirt. They tear. They fall apart in rain. Then came improvement. A cord could pull the material tighter. A shaped sole could sit beneath the foot. A toe flap could keep out stones. A woven base could spread the body's weight. A fur lining could hold warmth close to the skin. And slowly, a foot covering became footwear. This change took generations. No one person invented all shoes. Different people in different landscapes found different answers. In a dry grassland, plant fibers could be twisted and woven. In a forest, bark could be stripped and shaped. In cold mountains, animal hide and fur could trap warmth. In wet places, raised soles could keep feet above mud. The materials changed, but the problem stayed the same. How do you protect a soft human foot from a hard earth? One of the oldest surviving answers comes from what is now Oregon in the United States. More than 10,000 years ago, people made sandals from sagebrush bark. The bark was shredded into fibers. The fibers were twisted, then woven into a strong, flat base for the foot. Cords held the sandal in place. This was not a careless bundle of grass, it was skilled work. The maker had to understand the plant. They had to know when to collect it, how to separate the fibers, how to keep them from breaking, how to weave a shape wide enough to protect the foot, but narrow enough to walk in. Every sandal carried knowledge. Knowledge passed from one pair of hands to another, a parent teaching a child, a craftsperson showing a neighbor, a community learning which material worked best in cold, mud, dry grass, or sharp rock. The sandal made travel easier. It helped people cross rough ground, walk through thorny brush, move across icy marshes, and carry loads without every stone becoming a threat. But open sandals were not enough for every climate. In cold regions, people needed warmth as much as protection. They needed something that covered the whole foot, something that held dry grass, fur, or soft material close to the skin, something that could be tied shut. Somewhere in the ancient world, leather shoemaking developed. Animal hide could be softened, cut, folded, pierced with holes, and pulled tight with a cord. A shoe could now wrap around the foot like a second skin. Thousands of years later, one such shoe survived in a cave in Armenia. It was made from a single piece of leather. It had laces. It had a shape designed for a real human foot. It had been made with care. The person who created it understood the material. They knew how leather stretched, how it dried, how it softened, how it could be pulled snug around the ankle. This was no longer a simple emergency wrap. This was craftsmanship. Shoemaking, a technology built from memory and practice. And then there was a traveler in the Alps. More than 5,000 years ago, a man now known as Ötzi crossed high mountain terrain. His shoes were layered. They used leather, tree bark mesh, grass insulation, and bindings to hold everything together. His footwear was designed for cold, for walking, for survival. It shows how far the invention had come. A shoe was now a system, a sole for protection, an upper layer for coverage, insulation for warmth, ties for fit, different materials doing different jobs. This is what human invention often looks like, not one sudden miracle, but many small discoveries joined together. A better knot, a stronger fiber, a softer hide, a warmer lining, a shape that hurts less after a long walk. Over time, footwear grew beyond survival. As villages became towns and towns became cities, shoes became part of daily work. Farmers needed protection from mud and stones. Herders walked long distances behind animals. Builders stood on rough ground. Traders traveled along dusty roads. Soldiers marched across fields and mountain passes. Shoes adapted. Some became open sandals for hot climates. Some became thick boots for snow. Some became light footwear for indoors. Some became heavy footwear for labor. The shoe began to reveal where a person lived. A woven sandal spoke of plants and dry ground. A fur-lined boot spoke of cold weather. A leather shoe spoke of herding, tanning, and skilled craft. But every solution creates another problem. Good footwear took time to make. It required valuable materials. Animal hide had to be cleaned, softened, cut, stitched. Plant fibers had to be gathered and woven. Not everyone had equal access to these things. In larger societies, shoes could become symbols. Some people wore simple sandals. Others wore carefully dyed leather. Others wore decorated footwear for ceremonies, power, or wealth. A shoe could say more than, "My feet are protected." It could say, "I am important. I belong to this group. I can afford fine materials. This is my work. This is my rank." Footwear became identity. In ancient cities, soldiers often wore sturdy shoes because armies had to move. A soldier with damaged feet could not march. An army that could not march could not control land. Merchants needed reliable footwear because trade depended on travel. Messengers needed it because news moved at the speed of a human body. A shoe could help a person cross a village, but it could also help connect distant regions. Roads became more useful when people could walk them safely. Mountains became less frightening when feet were protected. Journeys became longer, trade became wider, and the human world became more connected. Today, shoes are everywhere. Sneakers, boots, sandals, slippers, work shoes, running shoes, school shoes, shoes designed for rain, shoes designed for weddings, shoes designed for climbing mountains or playing sports. We may choose them for comfort, style, status, or safety. But beneath all of that is an ancient idea. The ground can hurt you, and humans found a way to answer back. Tonight you will put on your shoes. You may not think about it, but they exist because someone, long ago, stood on cold stone and decided that bare skin was not enough. First, humans walked barefoot. Then they wrapped their feet in hide, grass, bark, and fur. Then they learned to twist fiber, shape leather, and tie strong knots. Then they made footwear for snow, mud, rock, heat, work, and travel. And eventually, shoes helped humans move farther across the world. Shoes are more than clothing. They are a small piece of human defiance, a quiet invention that says, the earth may be sharp, the earth may be cold, but we are still going to keep walking.